What is going on, everybody? ManToManFootball here. Got my boy Dylan across from me, as always. Today we are covering our AFC and NFC favorites who will most likely get a shot at going to the Super Bowl. I'm covering the AFC. Dylan's covering the NFC. Dylan, we're going to start from the ground up. We're doing our top three. Who you got at three for me going to the Super Bowl right now?
Yeah, number 3 power rankings from the NFC. I'm gonna go with New Orleans, man. I know, they've
At
got the best
three?
record. Hear me out here. Hear me out. Okay. They've got Taysom Hill at quarterback. All right, that'll get figured out by somebody. They're a really good team, Justin. This is what the Saints do all the time. Okay, they have a really good regular season, and then they fade away in the playoffs. We done seen this story 100 times. Okay, Sean Payton's a great coach. Drew Brees is a great quarterback. They've got great players all over the place, and when it comes time to make the money in the playoffs, they fail. All right, and so for me, it's more of a history thing, and I don't know where Drew Brees is as far as his health. Like I said, Taysom Hill, had a little bit of spark. Nobody really knew what to expect. That's gonna get figured out. Okay, Taysom Hill not being a legit quarterback is gonna get figured out. Somebody's gonna figure out how to stop that. Go ahead. I see you thinking over there. Go ahead. What you feeling?
If we're talking playoffs here, because this team is pretty much going to playoffs already. You've won,
Absolutely. They're
you've won,
already, yeah.
you've won two games with Taysom Hill. Like, it's fine. But this team's going to the playoffs, and Drew Brees is going to be playing. We're hoping he comes out fresh. They're to the point where they've won enough games where they may not even have to worry about not making the playoffs at this point. You can just leave Drew Brees on the bench, let him rest. We know he doesn't need to throw the ball in practice. He's got the brain. He's got the brain to run an offense. So he could be coming into his freshest playoff ever. That's the only argument I
Yeah.
have. Kind of the only argument I
Other than he's
have.
coming
It
off like
depends.
having
I would say it
every rib
depends
in
on
his
his
body
ribs.
broken.
It
Yeah.
really just depends on his ribs. So as long as he can get healthy, I think the Saints have a much better shot. But if you are correct and your number three Saints go in, they will be playing against my number three, Tennessee Titans.
There you go.
And obviously, the Tennessee Titans, Tannehill's been playing. He's doing a great job game managing. We both know he's not a superstar quarterback that throws 70-yard bombs like a certain
Sure.
team
Sure.
in the NFL right now. But they
I wonder
have
will they
they
be on your power ranking.
they've been talking about it for the past 2 weeks. We were joking about it watching football this week. They have the lumberjack at the running back position.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry chopping down trees, and the dude has been
Balling.
unreal this year. If you're his fantasy owner, Godspeed. I wish you the best in the playoffs. but yeah, the dude has been balling. Tennessee Titans looking good. Their defense is playing well. I love the Tennessee Titans for number three going into the playoffs and hopefully the Super Bowl. What do you think
Yeah, man,
about
I
that?
like that. I like that. I am kind of curious. With the Saints, I talked about history kind of repeating itself. Last year in the playoffs, the Tennessee Titans forgot to throw the football in the playoffs,
Hmm.
and it worked for them to some extent. They had some good games and stuff, and Derrick Henry was pounding away. Man, I honestly, is Derrick Henry an exception to the rule that your body can only take so much during a season? Because he's been pounding away all season. And so is there going to be a day where he breaks? Is he going to be the tree that falls? So I that's the only thing that I'm afraid of is Ryan Tannehill, the offensive scheme, this whatever they game plan in the playoffs, put maybe too much on Derrick Henry,
There's a
and they
lot
don't
on
they
him.
don't let their wide receivers and the quarterback do what they do in the regular season.
Yeah, I can definitely see how that's a concern for sure. I do think that he'll probably get a couple weeks of rest going in. But I mean, you usually kind of expect that. Usually, week 17, a lot of these teams are trying to rest their superstars, and Derrick Henry definitely needs some rest. The dude's getting like 25 carries in the first half, so the dude is definitely the workhorse for sure. I hope he's the exception because he is the heart and soul of this Tennessee team. And if he can grind it out through the playoffs, he's shown that they can make it tough on teams.
Sure,
So,
sure.
we've seen a couple things, but this Tennessee team has the ability, as long as they're looking the way they have throughout the season, to grind out some tough wins in the playoffs because
And
nothing's easy in the NFL,
you hit it on
especially
the
when you
head
get to
right there.
playoff.
They've been grinding out tough wins all year.
Yeah.
They have not made it easy on themselves. They've come out slow a little bit in some games. They are how you say battle tested for real.
Very, yeah.
So when the playoffs roll around and get in it's crunch time, they know that they believe in who they are.
Yeah, so
So
they either
I definitely
execute,
like that.
yeah, they either execute or they don't, which is, I mean, it's kind of very simple. It's a very simple game plan,
Yeah.
but I mean, it works. It works and it grinds teams out, keeps offenses off the field, and
Yeah.
keeps scores below 30,
hmm
which has not been the case this NFL season. So it's been I love watching Derrick Henry run. I can't stand his
Absolutely.
hair, but I love it. I love the Titans.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead, man. I'm gonna jump right into number 2. Maybe another surprise. I don't know, based on your reaction to New Orleans being number 3. I've got Green Bay at number 2. Man, we watched Green Bay tear apart the Bears defense, dude. The Bears have a really good defense, Justin.
Yes, they
They
do.
may not have an offense worth anything, but they have a good defense.
Yes, they do.
Me and you have talked in the past. Some of this comes before we started making YouTube videos. I haven't always been the biggest fan of Devontae Adams. I've kind of felt like he's been the product of being the only wide receiver in Green Bay. But regardless of if he is or not, Devontae Adams right now is uncoverable.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who or why. Devontae Adams is balling.
He has been for
And
years, but this year he's turned it up a
he's
notch.
on fire. And Aaron Rodgers is hitting him. And then Aaron Rodgers will go on the Pat McAfee show and talk some crap on everybody. Aaron Rodgers is having fun. He's got the chip on his shoulder and all that.
He sure does.
They've got a two-headed workhorse, a running back with Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. And then, if they get a lead, they've got plenty to stop you on defense. They can rush the passer. They can cover people. I think Green Bay is a really good team. The thing that I'm afraid of with Green Bay is getting out physicaled by some of these teams. The Vikings beat the crap out of the Packers not too long ago because they ran the ball at them.
Yeah.
And the Packers weren't able to play with a lead, and so it became a game about being physical. And if one of these games gets close for the Packers going into halftime, going into late, I am afraid of that. But I think they've got enough on offense, and I think they've got enough on defense that they're going to have a lead, and they're going to be just fine, win a lot of playoff games.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. The only thing that concerns me for this team is Green Bay has definitely, like you kind of said, Green Bay has kind of shown when it comes to a grinded out battle, they cannot hang.
Right.
When it comes to like, hey, we took a shot, now it's your turn. Green Bay's like, okay, dude, we were done. 3 drives. Like they're just not a team that can just grind it out and battle and battle and battle. They basically catch a lead and then stand over you and keep pointing down at you.
Yeah.
That's kind of Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers is good at it.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
We know
for
they
sure.
can win. We know they can win close games. We know that Aaron Rodgers can make that fourth quarter throw that can, put your lights out, put them in game-winning field goal position. We know that can happen. The only thing that concerns me is if this team falls behind, whether it's honestly more than a touchdown. If they fall behind more than a touchdown, this team concerns me going in. But I love Aaron Rodgers number 2. I can't argue with that one at all. But they'll kind of like we talked about earlier. They'll be playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, grinding it out. Another team that's been grinding it out. Green Bay will struggle against a Pittsburgh Steelers team in the Super Bowl, I think. The way that Pittsburgh plays is they're not. Honestly, Pittsburgh's not like super good at anything specifically. They just kind of do it all very well. There's no like, hey, we run the ball extremely well, stop us. They throw the ball very good. It's not great, but they throw good, and they run the ball very well. So they play defense, which you can't ask for. Like they just do everything across the board decent, and that is
complete team.
Yeah, it's very much a complete team in the NFL, and that is very hard to do. Mike Tomlin has definitely built that, and I would love to see Mike Tomlin go to the playoffs, and I think Pittsburgh versus Green Bay would be a fantastic battle. What do you think?
Yeah, we saw that like 10 years ago. Yeah, it was a great game.
Yeah. So I think Pittsburgh is a looking to be the number 2 team
Okay.
going forward.
I like that. The Steelers have had this weird season. We talked about them last week
16-0.
as the 16-0 thing, and we laugh and all that. This team doesn't feel dominant. They really don't.
They're
And
not.
kind of like you're saying, they're just
good at
a really
everything.
well-rounded football team.
Yeah.
They're not blowing anybody out.
Nope.
And so I really do wonder, if they play the Chiefs, are they going to be able to hang?
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to slow them down enough or keep up with them? It's like, being the jack of all trades isn't necessarily the best way to be, right? So,
Right.
The great football team, it would be awesome if they finished 16-0 because that would just be cool to have another team that did that. Curious to see how they do once the playoffs roll around for sure.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go ahead, man. I'm going to jump into number 1. I do have a Tampa Bay Bucks home game in the Super Bowl. This is all faith in Tom Brady here. There's nothing else. There's no other reason. The Tampa Bay Bucks haven't always looked great this year. They have been blown out in a couple of their losses in primetime games too. What I think this is a bit of they're asking Tom Brady to do things that he's not good at. Tampa Bay has a really good defense. They've got plenty of weapons. They've got running backs. And they're asking Tom Brady to be this, I don't want to say Patrick Mahomes like quarterback, but they're asking him to throw these deep balls and play action this. And Tom Brady is a dice you up, read the coverage pre-snap, hit a 5-yard route here, hit a 10-yard route there. And they're asking him to be somebody he's not. Tom Brady is phenomenal at doing what he did when he was in New England. And they will eventually, I guarantee, adjust to what Tom Brady does well. It would be idiotic of them not to. Right? Antonio Brown will continue to emerge. Mike Evans will continue to emerge as these slot and quick route runners. Right? They're going to stop this whole line game. Tom Brady has proven he can't hit those consistently. They're throwing up, 30-yard prayer balls that get intercepted. It just
or missing the wide open receivers.
Or missing wide open Antonio Brown running down the middle field. Mm-hmm. Okay, they will eventually adjust to what Tom Brady does well, and then they will explode and be unstoppable. And when the game's on the line in the playoffs, there's maybe only Patrick Mahomes that I have more faith in. Tom Brady is the guy. And that is the only reason why I have the Bucks number 1.
Interesting. Well, I will say I kind of agree with you. They've got to adjust, and if they can, they will be ridiculously unstoppable. They have the open field runners. They have the big guys that can make the ridiculous catches. Kind of what you were saying is they're not playing to what Tom is good at, which I completely agree. Simply for the fact of is coming out of New England, they always talked about, well, Tom has the fastest release of any quarterback. Fastest release of any quarterback coming out the NFL. That kind of plays into what you talked about is he doesn't really throw deep ball much because the ball's usually already out of his hands.
Right.
He's used to those slant routes, those out routes, those drags, those crossing routes. He's used to that kind of style, and I don't mind Bruce Arians being critical of Tom, but kind of like you said, he's got to adjust and coach his team to what they're good at. And
absolutely.
I don't mind taking deep shots. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's just part of the game. But majority of your play calling should be geared towards your players that you have, not what you want, but what you have.
Absolutely.
So the game plans are there. He just doesn't have more or less the athletic ability to get the ball out there consistently all game long, 40-yard, 50-yard deep balls. It's just not there. Sure. So I agree with you 100%. But Tom,
and how awesome would it be? How awesome would it be to have the first ever game held in a city in a stadium where the team that plays in that stadium plays in the Super Bowl?
That would be fantastic. I wanted that when the Cowboys were hosting the Super Bowl.
But you're a Cowboys fan, dude. Shut up.
No, I'm a Cowboys fan. I got it. But anyways, that would be awesome if Tampa hosted their own Super Bowl. It would be an insane day in Tampa. You imagine that.
Home field advantage would be real.
I would stay at home the whole day. I'm not driving that entire day. But anyways, moving on to who they're playing in the Super Bowl.
There you go.
At the number 1 position. if you didn't guess it, you're not a football fan. Pat Mahomes is taking everybody to the house, taking everybody to school, teaching everybody how to sidearm flick. Even though Aaron Rodgers has been doing it for a couple years now, he just doesn't get the credit. But Pat Mahomes is going to make the Super Bowl. Number one team. He's the highly praised, highly ridiculous receivers, everything. He just got it all. He's got Kelsey. He's got Hill. Who, I mean, Hill has been struggling. Last week he didn't have like 3 touchdowns or anything like that. This team is just, does it all. I will say the one critique I have of this team is Travis Kelsey. My God, throw the ball to your wide open quarterback. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. This defense has definitely shown that it can be very breakable. So teams have kind of made this team grind it out. They play we talked about it one game last week. They play the cover 4. They say, hey, we're going to make you grind this thing out. And it seems to slow them down. And that's okay. And if teams in the playoffs can figure that out and slow them down, somebody is going to get a shot at taking this giant down. I don't know what you think, but if they can keep it, all it takes is it's a playoffs, man. Keep things close is the game, and all you've got to do is be in field goal range. That's the great thing about the playoffs is anything can happen, and everybody's the best at what they do. Whether you're an all-around good team, whether all you can do is run the ball. If teams basically have been building the past 2 years to catch up to this KC team.
Sure.
And so, Tennessee's strat is grind it out. We're going to hammer the ball down the field, and you're just going to sit and watch us on the sideline, and you're not going to be able to score. So,
and I think you bring up a good point there. I think exactly what happened last season is why the Chiefs are primed to go to the Super Bowl again. I mean, it'll take the Houston Texans were up 24-0. The Titans got a lead. The problem is no other team is efficient on offense as the Chiefs are.
Absolutely.
And so you can limit possessions all you want, and you can make them play a slow game, but almost 5 out of 5 times Kansas City's going to score.
Yeah.
And your offense isn't. You're going to have to settle for some field goals because you don't have Patrick Mahomes, and you don't have Andy Reid's creative offense, and you don't have Tyreek Hill and all these other weapons and Travis Kelsey. There is the Kansas City Chiefs, especially throughout this season, have proved that they will beat you however you let them.
Yep.
If you want to sit back and you want to drop everybody in coverage, they will run the football the whole game.
If you want us to run 16 plays and score, we'll do that. If you want us
and
to
they
run
will
3,
efficiently and effectively run it all the way down the field, and they've proven it time and time again. And I'd be if they're not in the Super Bowl, dude. I don't know what I'd do.
Yeah, this team is definitely tough to stop, and it's kind of just clear cut at this point. They've got to go to the Super Bowl, unless barring somebody keeping it close and kicking a field goal to win, or I don't see this team ever getting blown out because no matter what, they can keep up.
Yeah,
so
I'll always be able to keep
Mahomes
up,
just had a horrible day, which has shown it really doesn't happen that often. These guys are going to grind it out. They're going to make you earn every inch. And if you want them to not go to the Super Bowl, you're going to have to play them to the wire. 4 quarters, all game long. It's going to be great. I would love to see. I think, honestly, truthfully, I think I'd rather watch the Tampa team play KC than like a Green Bay team because.
Okay. Well, I was just about to ask you this as we kind of wrap this up. When it's assuming KC makes it, right? Out of New Orleans, Green Bay, and the Bucks, who do you think scares KC more?
I'm not really sure, honestly. Scaring KC is a tough thing to do.
Sure.
I truthfully believe most of the teams that scare KC are in their own division, like Tennessee, Pittsburgh. Basically my top 3 teams kind of feed into that. I think they're more afraid of their own division than anything, simply for the fact of is these teams are building to beat them.
Sure.
So I wouldn't say they're necessarily afraid of the NFC East. They're more afraid of what can happen in their own division. So that's kind of my opinion.
No, I like that. Yeah, that's good.
Well, guys, what do y'all think? Who do you think is going to go to Super Bowl? Who are your top three? Let us know down in the comments. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Dylan, you got anything else, man? You're
How about
looking at
those
it.
Giants, dude? They in the race. They in the race, dude. All you gotta do is get in the dance.